It was a cold morning. People walked quickly, holding their jackets tight. A few cars moved slowly across the wet streets. On one corner, near an old grocery store, a crowd had started to gather. They weren't there to shop. They were there to watch something strange. A man was being arrested. He looked about 40. His hair was messy. His clothes were dirty and torn. He had no shoes. His hands were behind his back, locked in tight metal handcuffs. Two police officers stood beside him, smirking. "Hey," one of them shouted to the crowd. "Look what we caught today, a walking trash bag." People laughed. Some pulled out their phones to record the scene. The man said nothing. He didn't fight. He didn't even look scared. He just stared straight ahead, his eyes cold and calm. The second officer leaned close to him. "What's your name? Huh? Can you even speak? Or are you just another silent junkie?" Still, the man didn't speak. A young officer stood to the side, watching. He was new on the job. His name was Officer David. He didn't laugh like the others. He didn't pull out his phone. Something about the man's face made him pause. There was pain in those eyes, but not the kind of pain that comes from drugs or madness. It was deeper, older, like a man who had lived through something terrible. "Where did you find him?" David asked. "Behind that dumpster near 12th Street, the older officer replied. "Said he was sleeping there. Looked suspicious. Tried to run when we asked questions. But he's not carrying anything," David said. "No wallet, no ID, nothing. Just this old badge," the officer said, tossing a small metal item into David's hand. David looked at it. It was scratched and rusty, but the shape was familiar. A military badge. Not something you'd buy at a shop. Something earned. Something worn by someone who served. "Where did he get this?" David asked. "Probably stole it," the officer laughed. "People like him always have stories. He's probably going to say he's a hero or something." David looked at the man again. He was now sitting in the back of the police van, still handcuffed, still silent. He didn't cry or beg. He just sat there like a statue. "Let's get him back to the station," the older officer said. "He'll spend the night in the cell. Then we'll ship him off to a shelter." They closed the van doors and drove away. The crowd slowly left, bored now that the show was over. But one lady kept watching. She was an old woman in a red coat. She didn't record anything. She didn't laugh. She whispered something to herself. "That man? I've seen him before." At the police station, the officers led the man into the holding area. They pushed him into a chair and searched his clothes again. They found nothing else. No phone, no money, just dirt, old paper, and that strange military badge. The chief came in, took one look at him, and sighed. "Another crazy one." "Yeah," one officer said. "Thinks he's some kind of soldier." The man finally spoke. His voice was soft but clear. "You don't know who I am, but you will." Everyone turned to him. For the first time, the room went quiet. "What did you say?" the chief asked. The man looked up slowly. His eyes were sharp now, focused. "You made a mistake." The chief laughed. "No ID, no name, no home. That's not a mistake. That's a charge." Officer David was still holding the badge. Something about it felt too real to be fake. While everyone was distracted, he quietly stepped into the office and typed the badge number into the system. He didn't expect much. Maybe a record of someone long forgotten, but what he saw made his hands freeze. "Classified. Do not access without permission." A red warning flashed across the screen. David's heart began to race. He clicked again. This time, it opened a restricted file with only a few words. "Agent R. Cole status. Missing in action. Level 6 clearance. National operations." David stared at the screen. Agent, missing clearance. This wasn't a homeless man. This wasn't a thief. This was someone important. Someone powerful. Someone who had disappeared without a trace. He printed the file and ran back to the others. "Chief, we have a problem." The chief rolled his eyes. "What now?" David placed the paper in front of him. The room went silent again. The chief read it twice, then looked at the man. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. The man smiled for the first time. "You arrested the wrong man. And now, you've opened the wrong door." The chief's face went pale. He looked at the officers who had mocked him earlier. "Take off those handcuffs, now." One officer hesitated. "But chief?" "Now," he barked. They rushed to unlock the cuffs. The man rubbed his wrists slowly, stood up, and stretched like someone who had been asleep for too long. David asked softly, "Are you really Agent Cole?" The man looked at him, then nodded. "I was, until they erased me." The chief asked, "Who erased you?" But the man only said, "You'll find out soon, just like I did." He walked toward the exit slowly. No one stopped him. No one laughed. Now, and just before he stepped out the door, he turned around and said, "Be careful what you assume. Sometimes, the one you mock is the one who knows your deepest secrets." Then he disappeared into the night. The police station felt different after he left. No one was laughing now. The chief sat in his office, staring at the printed file. David had brought the name Agent R. Cole seemed heavy on the page. He rubbed his forehead and muttered, "This can't be real." But deep down, he knew it was. Something about that man, the way he looked, the way he didn't beg or cry of it, had matched their assumptions. David stood near the office door, nervous. "Chief, what do we do now?" The chief didn't answer right away. Finally, he looked up. You said he was missing for 3 years. David nodded. That's what the file said. Missing during a classified operation. The rest of the file was locked. The chief picked up the phone. Get me a direct line to Federal Intelligence. No dispatch, no middlemen. This is going to the top within minutes. He was on a private call, explaining everything. The voice on the other end was cold. Agent Cole is not to be followed. Do not engage. Do not report this to media. But he just walked out of our station, the chief said. He could be dangerous. The voice replied. He's not dangerous. He's something else. Stay out of his way. Then the call ended. The chief put the phone down slowly. He looked at David. Forget you ever saw that file. But sir, I said, forget it. David nodded but knew he wouldn't forget. That man had something in his eyes like he was carrying the weight of the world. Meanwhile, Agent Cole walked through quiet streets. He didn't rush, he didn't hide. He moved like a man with a plan. Every corner he turned, every step he took, it all felt familiar. He had lived in the shadows before. This wasn't new. He found a small diner at the edge of town. It was nearly empty. A tired waitress looked up as he entered. You need something? He nodded. Just coffee. He sat at a table in the back. From his pocket he pulled out a folded photo. It was old, faded. A woman and a young girl stood smiling under a tree. His hand shook slightly as he stared at it. Soon, he whispered, I'm almost done. At the station, David couldn't shake the feeling that something big was unfolding. He returned to the evidence room where the man's badge had been. Logdy stared at it through the glass. It didn't look like much, just metal and scratches. But it had changed everything. He pulled out his phone and began searching. Agent R. Cole brought up almost nothing. Just an old article about a mission overseas that ended in disaster. Names weren't listed. Only that 3 agents had gone missing. One was presumed dead. David clicked deeper. Found a forum where someone had posted years ago about a man who saved a village during a secret raid. We never got his name, the post said. But he carried children on his back through gunfire. He vanished right after, like a ghost. David leaned back. Could that have been him? While he read, a call came through from dispatch. A voice, on the other end, said, David, you need to see this. A woman just called. She claims that man is her father. David froze. What? She saw the video online. The arrest. She says he's not homeless. She says he's alive. David rushed to the front desk where a young woman waited. Her name was Emma Cole. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying for hours. Please, she said. I saw him. That was my dad. He's been missing for 3 years. Everyone said he was dead. David led her to a private room. She told him everything. Her father had been in the military, then in a secret agency. One day, he left on a mission and never returned. They told us the team was ambushed, she said, that no one made it out, but I never believed it. My mom, she died waiting for him. David asked, why would he come back now? Why not sooner? Emma shook her head. I don't know, but if he's alive, I need to find him. Please, help me. David promised to do what he could. After she left, he sat in silence, his mind racing. A man they mocked, a man they locked up, and he turned out to be a ghost from a world no one talks about. That night, David made a choice. He went back to the station alone. He entered the evidence room and copied the badge number again. This time, he used a private connection from his home laptop. The system asked for clearance. He bypassed it. The screen opened a secret page. There were photos, reports, even a surveillance map. Agent Cole wasn't just missing. He had been hunted, not by enemies, but by his own people. There was a note in red. Neutralize if located. Contains classified intel. Status, uncontrolled. David stared at the word neutralize. His heart sank. They hadn't just lost him. They wanted him gone. But why? The apartment was quiet, except for the ticking of an old wall clock. Agent Cole sat on the edge of a worn-out couch, staring at a small table in front of him. On it lay a few tools, wires, and a broken cell phone. His hands moved slowly, carefully. Every motion had purpose. Every wire, every screw, every chip. He had done this before. Behind him, the older man who had let him in stood in the doorway, watching silently. His name was Alan, an old friend from Cole's agency days. He had been out of the game for years, living a quiet life under a fake name. You're rebuilding the phone? Alan asked. It's not just a phone, Cole replied. It's a tracker. It has access codes buried in its core. If I can restart it, I can reach the satellite system we used before the mission went bad. Alan looked nervous. Won't that alert them? It will, Cole said, but I want them to come. It's time to finish this. Alan sat down slowly. Why now? You've been hiding for 3 years. Why come back now? Cole didn't answer right away. Then he said, because I saw my daughter. Just for a second. She was at the station. She doesn't know I saw her. But I can't let this end with silence. She deserves to know the truth. Alan's voice softened. She thinks you're dead. Cole nodded. I was supposed to be. That's what they wanted. Meanwhile, back at the police station, David couldn't stop thinking about the file. He had opened. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the words, neutralize, if located. It haunted him. He had called Emma earlier that morning, told her everything he had found. She cried, not because of fear but because she knew her father was still being hunted. They lied to us, she said. They didn't lose him. They tried to erase him. David promised again. I'll help you find him. I don't care what they say. He spent hours looking through city cameras, using his clearance to track possible locations where Cole might go. One security camera near an old diner showed a man walking past, head down, wearing the same clothes from the station. David froze the image. It was him. Another camera picked him up near the river, then near a small apartment building. Found you, David whispered. That night he drove across the city. He didn't tell the chief. He didn't tell anyone. He parked a block away from the building and waited. After 30 minutes, the lights in one window flickered, then went off. He stepped out of the car and approached the building slowly. Inside the apartment, Cole had just finished rebuilding the device. A small green light blinked. Active. He inserted a chipped card and began uploading files. The screen lit up with an old agency symbol, then a prompt appeared, requesting command code. He entered it. The screen paused, then opened. Files. Appeared mission reports, video logs, satellite images, but one folder was locked. This is the one, Cole said. This proves everything. Alan leaned forward. You're going to send it? Yes, to the public. No more hiding. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Both men froze. Cole grabbed a small knife from his boot. Alan looked through the peephole. It's a cop. Cole narrowed his eyes. Which one? Alan looked again. Young guy, from the station. He's alone. Cole thought for a moment. Let him in. Alan opened the door. David stepped in slowly, hands raised. I'm not here to arrest you, he said. I know who you are. Cole stood still. Then why are you here? To help you. I saw the file. I saw what they wrote about you. David stepped forward, speaking carefully. Your daughter? She's looking for you. She doesn't believe you're dead. She wants answers. Cole's face softened. He said nothing, but David could see the change in his eyes. They're still watching you, David added. They'll come for you soon. But if you have proof, if you show the world what really happened, they won't be able to hide it anymore. Cole turned to the laptop. This folder has everything. It shows who betrayed the mission. It shows who gave the order to leave us behind. If I release it, it'll destroy Korea's. Maybe more. David nodded. But it'll also clear your name. Alan looked at them both. Once you do this, you can't take it back. Cole took a deep breath. I know. He clicked the final command. The files began uploading to a secure link tied to several news outlets and whistleblower platforms. 10%, 20, 40. Outside, a black van pulled up. No lights, no sound. 5 men stepped out, wearing dark clothes, carrying weapons. They moved fast and quiet toward the building. Inside, the upload reached 60%, 70. Cole looked at David. If they breached the door, protect the laptop. David nodded, drawing his service weapon. He had never aimed it at anyone before. His hands shook. Alan handed Cole a small pistol, just like old times. Olmas, Cole replied. The door exploded inward. Smoke filled the room, flashbang screams. The first agent entered, but Cole was faster. One hit to the face, then a quick roll behind the couch. David fired a warning shot. Stay down. More agents stormed in. A fight broke out in the small space. Furniture crashed. Alan tackled one agent. Cole took a hit to the arm but kept going. The laptop sat on the table, screen glowing 90%. Then 95. David was pinned to the floor. An agent reached for the laptop, but Cole kicked the table, sending it flying. The laptop hit the wall. Everyone froze. Then, upload complete. A soft beep confirmed it. Cole looked up, blood on his face, and smiled. Too late. The agents backed off. Their radios crackled. Abort. Data released. They pulled back quickly. Van engine roared. They disappeared. Silence filled the apartment again. Alan sat on the floor, breathing hard. David helped him up. Cole stood, barely, holding his shoulder. It's done, he said. David looked at the cracked laptop. It's everywhere now. Yes, Cole said. Now the world knows the truth. What happens now? David asked. Cole looked out the window. Now I say goodbye. By the next morning, the world had changed. News channels across the country were showing the same story. Missing agent returns, exposes government secrets. Cole's face appeared on every screen. His name, once erased from all systems, was now on everyone's lips. The video files he had released were real. Raw footage from the mission showed everything. Cole's team had been ambushed, but the real betrayal had come from above. A high-ranking official had ordered them to be abandoned. The video clearly captured a voice giving the order. Leave them. If they survive, they're a liability. Then the line cut out. No rescue, no backup, just silence. Reporters were shocked. People online demanded answers. A government spokesperson held a rushed press conference, trying to control the damage. We are investigating the source of the leaks, she said. But the public wasn't buying it. Cole had already won their hearts. He wasn't a criminal, he was a hero, and everyone knew it now. Meanwhile, in a quiet hospital room, Cole sat beside a bed. His left arm was bandaged from the fight the night before. He looked tired, older than before, but there was a sense of peace in his eyes. Across from him sat Emma, his daughter. She hadn't spoken for several minutes. She just stared at him, tears running down her cheeks. "I thought you were dead," she finally whispered. Cole nodded. "I wanted you to believe that. It was the only way to keep you safe." Emma shook her head. "That's not fair. You left me. You let me grow up thinking I lost you." "If I had come back," he said softly, "come after you too. I was protecting you from my past." "But I didn't want protection," she cried. "I just wanted my father." Cole reached out slowly and took her hand. "I'm here now, and I promise, I won't disappear again." Emma leaned forward and hugged him tightly. He winced from the pain in his arm, but didn't let go. They stayed like that for a long time. Outside the hospital, David stood near the entrance, watching the guards. After the file leak, Cole had become both protected and targeted. The government couldn't touch him publicly, not now, but there were still people in the shadows who wanted him gone. David had taken a leave from the police force to stay close. He felt responsible. More than that, he believed in what Cole had done. Alan arrived with a small bag. "These are his things," he said. "Clothes, watch, and his mother's old ring." David nodded. "How's he doing?" "Better," Alan said. "But he's not safe. Not yet." "No one's made a move since last night," David replied. "But I agree. They'll try again." Inside, Emma pulled back from the hug and smiled weakly. "What happens now?" she asked. Cole looked at her with calm eyes. "Now I finish what I started. The truth is out, but there are still names missing from that file. I didn't release everything." "Why not?" she asked. "Because some truths are too dangerous to drop all at once. People aren't ready. If I push too hard, innocent lives could be caught in the middle. So what will you do?" "Give them a choice," he said. "They can clean up their own mess, or I release the rest." "Do you think they'll do it?" Cole gave a small smile. "They're scared." "That's a good start." As the sun set, Cole left the hospital with David and Alan. Emma stayed behind for her own safety. David drove them to a secure location, a small cabin deep in the woods, one of Cole's old safe houses. They checked every window, locked every door. That night, the three men sat around a small fire. Alan sipped coffee. David polished his service weapon. Cole stared into the flames. "Do you regret coming back?" David asked. Cole shook his head. "No, I regret waiting so long. I should have exposed them earlier." Alan looked at him. "And now?" "Now they know I'm not afraid." The next morning, Cole woke up early. The sun hadn't fully risen yet, and the forest outside the cabin was covered in a quiet mist. Birds chirped softly in the distance. He sat by the window, sipping coffee from an old metal cup. His eyes were tired, but there was peace in them now, at least for the moment. Alan stepped in and handed him a newspaper. "Front page again," he said. Cole unfolded it slowly. The headline read, "Whistleblower Hero Forces Government Reform." Underneath, a photo showed him walking out of the hospital, Emma holding his arm. Cole stared at it. "Feels strange," he whispered, being seen. Alan sat down across from him. "You were never meant to be forgotten. They just tried to make you disappear. But the world was ready to hear the truth this time." Cole nodded. "I just hope it lasts." Meanwhile, Emma was in a safe house provided by a trusted contact David had arranged. It was a small apartment with a single window facing the city skyline. She sat at a table writing in a notebook. Her phone buzzed. A message from David. "He's okay. Still at the cabin. We're watching him." Emma smiled slightly. She hadn't stopped thinking about the reunion. Her father's face, his voice, it was like a dream she thought would never come true. But under her joy, she felt anger too. Anger at the years lost. The silence, the pain. She wanted answers, and she was going to get them. Back at the cabin, David arrived with a folder in his hand. "It's done," he said. "The agency released a statement. They're calling your file one of the biggest cover-ups in recent memory." Cole raised an eyebrow. "That's one way to say it." "The man on the list," David continued, "the one who gave the order, he was taken into custody late last night. Charges are sealed, but I heard he's facing a full investigation." Cole didn't react much. "Too late for justice," he said, "but maybe not too late for change." David hesitated. "And the second list? The one you didn't release?" Cole looked down. "Still locked. If they stay quiet, so will I." David handed him a phone. "Emma wants to see you. Not in a hospital this time. She said she's ready for a real conversation." Cole took the phone and nodded. "Tell her I'll come tonight." That evening, he stood outside the safe house. His hair was neater, his clothes clean. He held a small box in his hand. When Emma opened the door, she looked surprised. "You look like yourself again." "I'm trying," he said. "Can I come in?" She stepped aside. He entered the small space and looked around. "It's simple," she said, "but it's safe." Cole handed her the box. "It's your mother's ring. I kept it all these years. I wanted you to have it." Emma opened the box slowly and stared at the silver ring. A small diamond sat in the center. She touched it gently. "Thank you," she whispered. They sat down. For a while, they said nothing. Then Emma asked, "Why didn't you try to call? Just once?" Cole sighed. "I did. Once. On your birthday. 2 years ago. But I couldn't speak. I just listened to your voice on the answering machine." I never got that message. I didn't leave one, he said. I was afraid if I said anything, they'd trace it. I thought staying away would keep you alive. Emma wiped her eyes. You were wrong. I know, he said. And I live with that regret every day. She looked at him. But you're here now, he nodded. And I want to stay, if you'll let me. She stood and hugged him again. This time it felt stronger, more real. He held on tightly. Later that night, they sat on the balcony. Emma asked, what will you do now? Cole looked at the stars. Maybe I'll disappear again. Quietly, start a new life somewhere quiet. Or maybe, she said, you stay. Help others like you. Tell their stories. Cole smiled softly. You sound like your mother. She believed stories had power. She was right, Emma said. Back at the cabin, Alan packed his things. He had decided to leave, to return to his quiet life. David stood with him at the door. Will you be okay? David asked. I always find a way, Alan replied. Besides, Cole's not alone anymore. He looked serious for a moment. Take care of him. He's not just a hero, he's still healing. David nodded. I will. After Alan left, David sat on the couch and looked at Cole's old files. One paper stood out, a photo of Cole's old team. 5 people, smiling in front of a helicopter, all gone now, except one. The next morning, Cole returned to the cabin. David greeted him with a tired smile. She okay? She's stronger than I remember, Cole said. She wants me to stay, so will you? Cole thought for a long time. I think I will, but not just to stay, to speak. To who? To anyone who'll listen. Cole opened his laptop. The second folder was still there, still locked. He hovered over it but didn't open it, not yet. Instead, he opened a new file and began to write. A letter. A story. His story. The real one. He didn't use fancy words. He just told the truth. Where he went, why he left, what he saw, who he lost, and how he survived. When he finished, he hit save. The title of the document read, They Mocked Me Until They Knew Me. David looked at him, ready to let the world hear it. Cole smiled. Not yet, but soon. Outside, the wind blew gently through the trees. For the first time in years, Cole felt like he belonged somewhere again. Not as a ghost, not as a secret, but as a man who came back from Silent Sand, chose to speak. A few days later, the cabin was no longer quiet. The peaceful forest around it had turned into a zone of activity. Cars came and went. Journalists camped outside the hidden road, hoping to catch a glimpse of the man who had shaken the nation, but no one could find him. Cole had vanished again, but not into hiding. This time, he had a purpose. He and David moved to a safer location, an old farmhouse owned by a retired general who once served with Cole. It was quiet, far from cities, surrounded by hills. Emma visited every few days, each time bringing food, news, and sometimes questions. One evening, she arrived holding a tablet. She handed it to Cole without a word. He looked at the screen. It showed a news broadcast. A former agent had come forward, confirming Cole's story. I was there, the man said. He saved us. But when the mission failed, they left him behind. I regret staying silent. Cole handed the tablet back. More are coming, Emma said. They want to support you. They say they owe you. Cole looked away. I don't need thanks. I just want the truth to stay alive. That night, David sat at the dining table, scrolling through emails. One message caught his attention. It had no name, no subject, just a single sentence. He's not safe yet. David showed it to Cole. He read it twice and nodded. I've been expecting this. What do you mean? David asked. When you shine light in dark places, Cole said, the ones hiding don't go away. They get desperate. A few hours later, a call came from Alan. His voice was low, urgent. I saw a black car near my place. Same type from the first attack. They're moving again. Cole's face hardened. You need to leave. Already packed, Alan said, but be careful. They're not done with you. The next morning, Cole received another message. This time, it was personal. A photo of Emma walking to her apartment, taken from a distance. A short text followed. You talk, we take her. Cole's hands trembled for the first time. He showed it to David. They're going after her now. David stood up. We move her tonight, quietly. That night, they picked up Emma from her sick house. She didn't argue when they told her. She saw the fear in her father's eyes and knew it was real. They drove 4 hours, switching cars twice, until they reached a new location deep in the countryside. It was a small house, empty for years, but secure. Cole looked around. We'll stay here, just for now. Emma sat on the couch, arms crossed. I'm not afraid, she said. They tried to take everything from us once. I won't let them do it again. Cole sat beside her. I thought by exposing them, I was ending this, but it only started. Something else. So finish it, she said. Don't hide again. Fight back. Cole looked at David, who nodded. You still have that second file? David asked. Cole opened his laptop and brought it up. The screen showed encrypted folders. One contained evidence of off-the-record missions, secret prisons, and names of those still working within the system, covering up illegal activities. This is bigger than me, Cole said. If I release this, it won't just shake the agency. It'll collapse it, but it will protect Emma, David said. They'll have no power left. Cole stared at the screen for a long time. Then he began to type. This time, he wasn't just exposing betrayal. He was tearing the mask off a system that allowed it. He uploaded the files to 3 major news agencies, all at once. Within minutes, reporters started receiving notifications. Phone lines rang. Alerts popped up. Headlines changed. New bombshell leaks reveal shadow operations. More whistleblowers step forward. Where will it end? In the farmhouse? Cole sat back in his chair. The weight of it all pressed down on him. Emma placed a hand on his shoulder. You did the right thing. He nodded, but his eyes were full of pain. At what cost? The next day, protests began. People stood outside government buildings demanding justice. Families of missing soldiers spoke out. Former agents who had long lived in silence began to share their stories. But while the world watched, danger came again. That evening, as David walked outside to check the property line, he noticed a red dot flash across the wall. A laser. He dropped to the ground and shouted, "Get down." Inside, Cole grabbed Emma and pulled her to the floor. A bullet shattered the window. David fired back blindly. The days after the attack passed slowly. The farmhouse was still standing, but the broken windows and bullet holes reminded them how close they came to losing everything. Emma cleaned the kitchen while Cole sat on the porch, staring into the distance. His wounds were healing, but his mind wasn't resting. Inside, David was on the phone with a news outlet, turning down another interview request. He's not a symbol, David said. He's a father who did what was right, that's all. But outside, Cole knew it wasn't just that anymore. People had started calling him the man who spoke. Some said he was a hero, others said he was a danger to the system. The truth was, he didn't feel like either. He was just a man who wanted to be forgotten, but couldn't let lies stay. Buried, a car pulled up on the road. Cole stood, alert. But it was someone familiar. Alan stepped out, carrying a small bag. He looked older than before, more tired. Heard you had some excitement, he said. Couldn't stay away, Cole asked, with a faint smile. Thought you might need backup, and I brought something. Inside the bag was a small metal box. Alan placed it on the table, found it hidden in the old sit house. Thought it was lost. Cole opened it and stared. Inside were old ID cards, a journal, and one cassette tape marked only with the word final. He picked it up, eyes wide. I recorded this before the last mission, he whispered. I never thought I'd see it again. David leaned in. What's on it? Everything. Cole said, my story. Before I vanished, it's my voice, the one no one ever heard. That night, they played the tape. The sound was scratchy but clear. Cole's younger voice filled the room. He talked about the mission, the betrayal, the friends he lost. Then he spoke about Emma. If I don't come back, the voice said, tell my daughter I loved her more than anything. Tell her I did. This so she could live in a better world. Emma sat frozen, eyes full of tears. Cole turned off the tape. That was me. Before the world broke. She hugged him again, tightly. You didn't break. You survived. News of the leaked second file was spreading fast. More protests, more resignations, and now the tape had become public too. David had uploaded it quietly. People all over the world were hearing Cole's true voice for the first time. He didn't sound angry. He sounded human. That changed everything. Politicians who once denied his story now admitted guilt. A full investigation into the agency's secret missions was launched. Some called for it to be shut down completely. Others wanted it rebuilt with honesty. But all eyes stayed on Cole. Everyone waited to see what he would do next. One afternoon, a letter arrived at the farmhouse. It was from the new director of national security. A personal invitation. We would be honored if you came to speak at the upcoming national hearing. Your voice deserves to be heard in our halls, not just on our screens. Cole placed the letter on the table. David read it. You gonna go? I don't know, Cole said. It's not just about me anymore. Emma stepped forward. Then, speak for all of them, the ones who can't. He looked at her, eyes filled with emotion. I'm proud of you, he said. Your strength reminds me why I did all this. Then let's finish it, she said, together. A week later, Cole stood in front of the nation. A hearing was held in Washington. Cameras lined the walls. Every major news outlet broadcasted the event live. Cole walked into the room. In a simple black suit, no medals, no titles, just a man with a story. As he sat down before the microphone, the room went quiet. He cleared his throat, then began, I am not a hero. I am not a whistleblower or a rebel. I'm just a man who was left behind and refused to die in silence. My team was betrayed. I was erased. My daughter was forced to grow up without answers. But I'm here today because truth matters more than comfort. Because silence only helps the ones who cause the pain. He paused, letting his words sink in. I do not want revenge. I do not want praise. I want change. So that no child has to wonder if their parent died for nothing. So that no soldier is abandoned by the country they swore to protect. A few in the room wiped tears. Others nodded solemnly. Emma watched from the first row, proud. Cole continued. If you build systems with secrets, you build houses that collapse. If you punish those who speak, you lose voices that save lives. I speak not just for me but for all those still waiting for the truth. When he finished, the room stood in silence. Then one person began to clap, then another. Soon, the entire hall was on their feet. The applause wasn't loud, but it was honest. Cole stepped away from the microphone and returned to his seat. Emma hugged him. "You did it," she whispered. "No," he said. "We did." That evening they returned to the farmhouse. Cole looked out at the hills, the sunset painting the sky in gold and orange. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like he was running. He felt like he had arrived. David handed him a phone. "You've got a dozen interview requests. Books, documentaries, news specials." Cole shook his head. "Not yet. Maybe later." "What do you want now?" David asked. Cole smiled. "I want a quiet dinner with my daughter. I want peace, at least for a while." And so, that night, they sat around the small table. No cameras, no danger, just family, talking, laughing, healing. Somewhere in the distance, another voice would rise, another truth would be told, and maybe, just maybe, the world would keep listening. Weeks passed. The farmhouse returned to peace. The broken windows had been repaired, and the sounds of news crews were gone. The world had moved forward, but Cole's name remained in quiet headlines. People didn't forget what he had done, but now they gave him space. Emma had decided to stay for a while. She left her apartment in the city, packed a few things, and moved into the room upstairs. Every morning, she would make coffee and sit on the porch with her father. They didn't always speak. Sometimes silence said enough. One morning, as the wind moved gently through the trees, Emma turned to Cole and said, "What happens next for you?" Cole looked into the woods. "I don't know. I never imagined a life after this. I thought either I'd be gone, or still hiding." "You don't have to hide anymore," she said. "You've already paid the price." Cole nodded. "But peace isn't something you win once. You have to keep fighting for it, quietly, every day." Emma smiled. "Then let's fight quietly together." Meanwhile, David had returned to his old job, but things were different now. His name was also known. Reporters called him the brave young officer who stood by the truth. He didn't seek attention. He avoided the cameras, but inside, he felt proud. One day he visited the farmhouse again. He brought fresh bread and a small envelope. "This came to my desk," he said, handing the envelope to Cole. Cole opened it and found a medal inside. A formal one, sealed with the agency's new insignia. "They want to give you this at a ceremony next month," David explained. "In public." Cole held the medal for a moment, then placed it back in the envelope. "I didn't do this for medals, I know," David said. "But maybe it's time people thank you properly." Cole thought for a long moment. "I'll think about it." That evening, the three of them sat under the stars. A fire crackled nearby, the only sound besides crickets and distant owls. Emma leaned against her father's shoulder. "Tell me something about Mom," she said quietly. Cole looked up at the sky. She hated silence. Said it made people lonely. That's why she always sang around the house. Off-key, every time, but it made the place feel alive. Emma laughed. "I don't remember that. You were too young." But when she laughed, it made the walls shake. He paused. "She would have been proud of you." "I hope so," Emma whispered. "She would have," Cole said firmly. "You're braver than I ever was." A few nights later, Cole sat alone at the table, writing. It wasn't a report, not a statement or a leak, just a letter. He wrote it to no one, or maybe to everyone. "If you ever feel like truth is too heavy, remember this silence does not protect you. It only protects the lie. Speak, even if your voice shakes." He folded the letter and placed it in a box beside the old tape and his journal, a small collection of his journey. He wasn't sure what would happen to it, but it felt right to save. The next morning, a local school invited Cole to speak, not as a former agent, not as a national figure, just as a father with a story. He stood in front of a class of teenagers, most of them unsure why a man in a plain jacket was standing in front of them. But when he spoke, the room changed. He didn't talk about missions, or gunfire, or secrets. He talked about trust, about choices, about what happens when people are too afraid to stand up. "You don't have to be loud to be brave," he told them. "Sometimes the bravest thing is telling one person the truth, even if no one else believes you yet." After the talk, one student came up to him, a girl with quiet eyes. "My brother went missing overseas," she said. "They said it was an accident, but it never made sense. I think something was hidden." Cole knelt down gently. "Then don't stop asking questions, even if it takes years. Keep asking, keep pushing." She nodded slowly. He gave her a small card with a contact number. "If you need help, call." Later that day, Cole walked through town. People looked at him differently now. Some nodded with quiet respect. Others whispered, but no one mocked. No one turned away. When he returned home, Emma had cooked dinner, simple stew and warm bread. They sat together like they had done every night for weeks. But tonight, something felt finished.